Good morning and welcome to our program. I'm your host, Katie Jones, and today we will be talking about solar cooking. Let's get started. So for this project, you will need a box. You can use any box. I just had one from some online shopping that I did. You might have one too. That's perfect. A pizza box will also work, but I didn't have one at home, so I used just a regular box. You also need aluminum foil. You need some glue. I like a glue stick because that'll help it stay to the top of the box. I'll explain that more. You need an X-Acto knife. You need saran wrap or plastic wrap will do. And then you also need packing tape or any clear tape will do. And you need a stick. You can just find it outside, break it to size, that's fine. You need markers. I don't have those today because I'm not decorating it, but you can jazz it up and make it what you want it to look like. And then you also need a piece of black paper or dark colored paper. And you need graham crackers because today we're making s'mores, or you need whatever you're going to cook. And you also need marshmallows, a chocolate bar, and preferably a sunny day. Okay, so let's get started. This is what the finished product will look like. And then so that's what it looks like. And now we're gonna get started in making it. So I'm gonna take my plain box. And it's open, so I need to tape it and get it ready to make. So I'm just gonna close it up. I'm gonna take a piece of tape and find the edge. I'm gonna cut it to size. I actually brought scissors today, but if you don't have scissors, feel free to use your X-Acto knife for this step as well. I'm just gonna tape it so it's a flat surface. Beautiful. So it's nice and sealed and ready. All right, so now's the fun part. We get to cut the flaps in it. So you can also use a ruler if you want to be more precise, but for today's purposes, I'm just going to go for it and cut. So I'm going to draw my flap and I'm going to go down. And you want the flap to be pretty big because that's where the sunlight's going to come in. So you want the opening to be pretty large. I try and make it straight. And then I'll go down that way. And perfect. So I'm going to cut it. If you're a child, I would suggest having adult supervision, or maybe you can use scissors for this part. Might be a little bit thick in this part because of the overlap of the flaps, so just be careful. You don't want to push down too hard because it is hollow. And then I'm going to cut it from this side. And for this one, I go all the way to the edge, but you don't have to. You can leave a little flap, a little crossover. All right, so we should be good. Now we can open it up. And it didn't quite cut through there, so I can always cut those off really quickly. And it might help to cut it off beforehand as well if you have flaps that overlap or folds.
Hi, Katie. We've got a question from the audience.
Okay, perfect. We have our first question for the day. And what is that?
Today is S'mores Day. What other foods could you cook in the box oven, the
Perfect
solar
question.
oven?
So the solar oven is very diverse. You can cook a lot of different things. And I would mostly think of it as a way to cook appetizers. So you can make s'mores, which is our dessert, or you can make nachos are great. I would pre-cook the meat, whatever you want to use. And then you can warm up your cheese. You can put a little salsa on it or whatever, and it'll heat it up. So nachos are great. I've also seen where people make hot dogs. So you use like a Pringles can, and that's really great because it's already covered in aluminum foil. So you don't have to worry about covering it. You just cut a little window and poke a hole, use like a dowel, and put it through and cover it with saran wrap, and it's ready to go. It's super convenient. So hot dogs, you can make like little, I say pizza crackers. You put some red sauce on some crackers, put some cheese, and it would be delicious. So right now I'm just reinforcing the top. It's a little bit weak from where I taped it. And that's where a pizza box is great, but I know that we don't always have those available. So this is a great alternative. So I'm just gonna tape it so it's a little bit more sturdy. All right, perfect. Okay, so that's ready. And I'm also gonna cut another flap because once I'm done, this will be covered. So I'm gonna make a little door. It's like a little oven door on the front. So I'm gonna take and draw it so I can put my food in, take it out, and that way it keeps you from opening the top too much because that will let the heat out and that will slow down your cooking. And who wants to wait more time for their food? I don't. All right, so I just drew a little door. I'm gonna cut it.
Hey, Katie, we've actually got another question for you.
Sweet. What's your next question?
What other types of boxes could you use in place of this one? You did mention the large pizza box as well as the Pringles, so I guess that's what's spurring these.
Yes. For a lot of my examples, I use some of the boxes that I've gotten from like the large box stores that I shop at, and it just came with a lot of that supply in it. So I use those. The smaller box, like the smallest size that you can use, is always better because it's going to take less time to heat. If it's a big box and it's a small item, then it's going to take a really long time to heat. And again, we don't want to wait for our food. So I cut the little flap. It's a little uneven, but that's okay. It'll work just the same. So it opens up, and now we're ready to get started. So I'm going to pull off a piece of aluminum foil, and I want it to be around the size of the upper edge, and that's perfect. Okay. And you want to try and keep it as flat as possible. This kind of acts like a mirror because it's going to reflect the sunlight. So don't get it all wrinkly. If you can, avoid it. So I'm just going to size it and cut it like so. Perfect. And don't get rid of this part because we can use it for the next thing that we have to do. So I'm going to take and I'm just going to lay it down so it's a little bit easier to work with. And so you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue so that it stays on nice and flat. If you fold it really well, this isn't absolutely necessary, but it does help it stay in place. If you're planning to reuse your solar oven for multiple items, which I totally suggest. Okay, and then you want the shiniest side, so the really bright shiny side, to be out. And I'm going to place it right on the edge. Oops, sorry about the noise. And I'm going to push it down. Ooh, it's so flat. It's just going to cook very well. Beautiful. All right, so that's ready. And I'm just gonna fold it over.
All right, Katie, we've got another question from our audience.
Perfect. What's our next question?
Is it better to use the shiny side of the foil or the dull?
The shiny side is better to have facing out. You want to glue down the dull side because you want as much sunlight to reflect off of it as possible. I'm just gonna fold that over. Okay. The good thing with aluminum foil is that it pretty much stays in place. You can always tape it if you want to, but that's ready. All right, perfect. Okay, so the next step, we're gonna take this piece of aluminum foil that we still have and kind of size it so it can fit in the bottom of the box. That'll help just heat up your oven even faster. Some people cover their whole box with aluminum foil on the inside. They've shown where it might cook a little bit faster. For today, we're not gonna do that, but I saw like a review where they do that. So that's another option if you wanna experiment, maybe have a race to see who can cook the fastest. Okay, so we're just gonna lay that down in the bottom of the box. So that'll help reflect some of the sun. Or warm it up. We're actually going to cover it. But this one will help reflect. So I need a little bit more foil. And I'm just going to put a piece of foil on our little oven door because that will reflect some of the sun. And it's kind of nice because when you fold it, it'll help you be able to pull it off easier. So, just holding it in place and folding it over. You do want to make sure that this part is kind of close to the edge because you want it to close as tight as possible to keep the heat in.
Okay, we have another question.
Perfect. What's our next question?
Can other kinds of glue be used besides a glue stick?
Sure. I chose a glue stick because it's a little bit easier for me because it dries faster, but you can certainly use liquid glue. I would just let it dry a little bit more before you handle it. Okay, so you can see that the door closes well. And then the little overlap will help us in being able to open it a little bit easier too, if for some reason it's a little bit stuck. You can always make it look nicer if you're planning to use it over and over again, but for today, that works. Okay, so now we're gonna take our black paper and that's gonna go in the bottom. That's our oven liner, basically. So we're gonna cover it up. So we're just gonna cut it to size. And the black will hold the heat in more. If you have like a navy piece of paper, that would work too. You can always measure it and use a paper cutter, but for today, we're just gonna cut it with scissors and stuff it in there like that. Beautiful. A little bit small, a little bit large, so I'm going to take it out and trim it to size because I want it to fit flat in there so that when I open my door, it doesn't hang on it. Let's try that. Beautiful. All right, so that's covering the bottom. Wonderful. Okay, so now is the fun part. We're gonna cover it up, and the saran wrap is used to kind of hold the heat in there. So I'm gonna take plastic wrap or saran wrap, either one will work, and cut it to size. Oops. Perfect. And again, we want to try and keep it flat. All right. So it's a pretty good size. I don't want too much of an overlap so that I can still open my door. So I'm gonna trim it. Beautiful. It's okay if it overlaps on the side some. So now I'm just gonna use my packing tape. If you don't have packing tape, you can always use Scotch tape. Actually, I have both here today. So I might use a little bit of both, but I just wanna hold this in place. So I'm gonna take my packing tape and kind of put it along the side and tape it down. First side, it's not as important to get it quite right because you'll pull it on the other side. So that'll do. And then just kind of measure it. That's good. There we go. All right, and this side we are going to pull tight because we want it to be nice and secure. Beautiful. And it's kind of covering my door, so I'm going to cut it. Just a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to take and tape it down there. I'm going to actually open my door up. I'm actually going to take and cut this in half because I don't need anything that wide. Okay.
Hi, Katie, we've got another question.
Perfect.
You are using the regular saran wrap. Could they use press and seal or any other type of saran wrap?
Good question. So can you use press and seal? You can, if that's what you have. It will seal it, but I wouldn't necessarily suggest it because when you use press and seal, you can't see through it as well. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to work with as far as taping it down and getting it really secure. And you can't see as well, so you're like, oh, is my food ready? You open it up and you're letting the heat out. So if you have something that's clear and you can see whether your food's ready or not, it might work a little bit better. So it works, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So I used half my tape for the bottom. I'm gonna grab this edge at the top.
We also have another question as well as a comment.
Okay.
When you're a couple of people are having issues hearing you, so when you're looking down, could you try to speak louder if possible? And the other question is, does it have to be clear tape? Can they use masking or duct tape?
You can use those. You want to secure it. Clear tape just helps, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk louder. It does help to have it be clear because you can always, see through it, but it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever. It's just securing it in place. As long as it doesn't cover too much of the window, it's really fine. Sometimes I like to use Scotch tape because it's a little bit easier to pull off and help it get in place. So that was my first piece of saran wrap, and now I'm gonna put another piece of saran wrap over top. Because basically you just want it to be sealed really well. If you put one, it'll work, but the second one kind of helps keep the heat in. So let's do one more. the size, same process. And I just want to attach it. Feel free to decorate it however your heart desires. You can take and put some paper on it. You can wrap it with some wrapping paper on the outside. Like we were saying before, if you want to use the duct tape and tape the outside edges, that would be super cute. If for some reason your box has a hole in it, I would recommend putting either a piece of paper or a piece of dark tape just to secure it and keep that heat in as much as possible. So check it for any holes or slits. This is so fun for the summertime. You can always make lots of different things. Each kid can make their own box and then go out there and have a great time. Alright, again, just making sure it holds super tight. Beautiful. With a pizza box, it's pretty nifty because you can pull the top up and cut it. There are a lot of examples online. There's a lot of different ways to make a solar oven, but this is how I want to do it. I like the door because I can just take and open it up and check it, take it out. Perfect. And then just push it. The top part's really important because you want to make sure that's sealed really well up against that flap. Cut it. And perfect. And I'll take the bottom piece real quick. And then we're almost ready to cook. How exciting. That's pretty taut. I'm pretty happy with that. Just gonna trim it again so my door opens and closes well. Perfect. Okay, so that's ready. The top is ready. So go outside, find a stick, take your tape with you so that you can secure it. I tried just letting it sit and it didn't really stay in place how I wanted it to. So I would take a couple pieces of tape and secure it. You just want to prop it open. So probably a little bit less. It kind of depends on the size box you're using as well. But I just cross them over in an X fashion. And actually, this one has a little bit of a slant to it. So I like that to be my flap side. Oopsie. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to tape that in place. And cross it over that way. Perfect. And do the same on the top.
Hi, Katie. We've got another question.
Perfect.
It's a two-parter here. So one, what is the purpose of the stick, and can anything else be used in place of that stick?
Cool. So the stick is used to prop it open because if it's closed, the sunlight won't hit it. So it just kind of helps it stay open, helps the sun reflect off of it. If you can't find a stick, you can use anything lightweight, maybe a pencil if it's short enough, or maybe you have a shorter colored pencil. Anything will basically work. You don't want it to be too heavy because that might be a little difficult. But other than that, we just want something that will help it stay open. I kind of push mine down. It's good to stay outside and kind of check it because if it closes, it's not heating your food. If it's windy outside, you definitely want to secure it better. So now we're ready. So I'm not going to put my food in yet. I'm actually going to take it like this outside and let it preheat for about 30 minutes. So take it out, set a timer, have some fun, get your food ready, and then once it's preheated, you can take your food out and pop it in the oven. So let's pretend I preheated for 30 minutes. And for the first part, you only want to take and put a graham cracker and a marshmallow in. If you put the chocolate in there, it'll melt too quickly and you'll make a mess. If you're going for a messy day, you can, but I would not suggest it. So we'll put, let's pretend we had 30 minutes pass, and now we are ready to make our s'mores. So we'll put our graham crackers in for the bottom, and we'll put our little marshmallows in. Boom. Then we'll close it up and let it heat. So for this one, I would say it takes less time, probably 30 to 45 minutes, just depending on different elements. Check it. Your marshmallows will grow in size. It won't look like a traditional campfire marshmallow that has been roasted or grows significantly, like when you cook it in the microwave. But it will get a little bit bigger, and if you open the door, you'll start to smell all the goodness that you've cooked. So let's pretend it's been 30 to 45 minutes. You're happy with the way your marshmallows are looking. You can even take and poke them a little bit and see if they're squishy enough. And then go ahead and pop in your graham cracker, your next one, with your chocolate on top. And let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes, just until it's looking kind of gooey. It's actually pretty funny because it doesn't look like it's cooked, but then once you smush it together, you can tell it's melted on the inside. So if it looks like it's not super squishy after 5 to 10 minutes, just check it because it might be. And then just take and put it together and eat it. So you're gonna watch a video of me doing the whole process. And here we go.
Hey, Katie, we have a quick question for you as well. What is the best angle for that lid? And how does it get in the solar oven? How hot does it get in the solar oven?
And here's what your finished product will look like. I hope you enjoyed this program and join us for s'more fun.
Yum, that looks good, Katie. Can I ask you a couple other questions from the audience?
Okay, we're ready for more questions.
All right, the first one is, what's the best angle for the lid?
The best angle for the lid, I would say I wasn't necessarily happy with this one today. When I did my example, I used a bigger box and the angle was a little bit different. You can see the sun reflecting right now, so basically you just want to make sure the sunlight is hitting it like that. I'm pretty happy with that actually, because you can see all the sun shining and then it'll reflect off of the door as well.
And the second question is, how hot does it get in the solar oven? Can someone get burned?
Can someone get burned? I would not think so. That's something that I would have to look up, but I would not think you would get burned from anything you're cooking in the solar oven. Did we have any more questions, Will?
That's all. You've done a great job.
Perfect. I hope you all enjoyed this program, and like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram or Twitter or subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll see a lot more programs. Have a good day.